all. In this session, we are going to see about CMOS logic families. The expansion is complementary metal oxide semiconductor logic families. It is one of the unipolar logic family. We all know about the encoding bits. Well, there are two logics, positive logic and negative logic. Positive logic is high, we are keeping the value high as 1 and low as 0. In the negative logic, we are declaring high as 0 and low as 1. Right. So we are familiar with what are logic gates. Logic gates are basic digital devices. A gate can take one or more inputs and produces an output. Inputs are either 0 or 1, although they are having different values of voltages. The outputs are also either 0 or 1, irrespective of what is the voltage they are holding. The logic gates operation is fully described by all these truth tables. Hope we all are very good in are extremely good in all these basic gates. So this is actually an AND gate, this is an OR gate and NOT gate. Hope you all remember the truth tables for all these gates. So what is a logic family? It is actually a collection of different integrated circuit chips that have similar input, output and internal circuit characteristics, but that performs different logical functions. So basically logic gates are made from transistors, either bipolar transistor logic family or unipolar transistor logic family. So mostly all the transistors are made out of transistor logic family, or otherwise CMOS. CMOS stands for complementary metal oxide semiconductor family. This is the most important thing in the CMOS circuit is this technology is used in chips such as microprocessors, microcontrollers, static RAM and other digital logic circuits. It is also used for a wide variety of analog circuits such as image sensors, data converters and highly integrated transceivers for many types of communications. The two most important characteristics of CMOS devices are high noise immunity and low static power consumption. These characteristics allow CMOS to integrate a high density of logic functions on a chip. It was the primary reason that CMOS became the most widely used technology to be implemented in VLSI chips. So with this introduction about the CMOS, we can enter into the basic things. What is CMOS? Basically CMOS is a combination of PMOS and NMOS. P is P channel MOSFET and N is N channel MOSFET. So what is MOS transistors? N type MOSFET and P type MOSFET. So short gist about N type MOSFET is it is supposed to be switched off, that is open circuit, when the gate is logically 0, and it is on, that is short circuited, when the gate is logically 1. It passes a good logical 0 and it degrades a logical 1. Hope you can see the symbol of an N-type MOSFET. The three terminals of MOS are gate, drain and source. What happens when we are giving a low voltage, which means 0 if you are giving, what happens? The circuit is open. So which means there will not be any flow of current from drain to source. ID is equal to 0. Whereas when I'm giving a high voltage, that is 5 volts, what happens? What happens here? The circuit is now short, which means there is a current flowing between drain and source, which makes the MOSFET to be switched on. Whereas in the other case, it is switched off. So this is the operation of N-type MOSFET, where P-type MOSFET is exactly the opposite of N-type MOSFET. So off, when is it off? When the logical gate is when the gate is logically 1, and it is on when the gate is logically 0. It passes a good logical 1 and it degrades a logical 0. So the exact ulta operation of an N-type MOSFET is your P-type MOSFET. So see, look at the symbol. Here we are representing it with a bubble in the gate terminal. and there is a drain terminal and source terminal. So when I'm giving a high voltage, the circuit is open and there is no current. So it is making the MOSFET is switched off. Whereas when I'm applying a low voltage, the circuit is short, there is a flow of current, so it is making the circuit switched on. So this is actually the block diagram representation of a CMOS logic family. So CMOS, as I told you, it's a combination of PMOS and NMOS. So whatever is represented with a bubble, that is at the gate terminal, we call it as PMOS. If there is no bubble in the gate terminal, we are calling it as NMOS. So it's a combination of PMOS and NMOS, which means two gates have to be interconnected and two sources have to be two other terminals from PMOS and NMOS have to be interconnected to get the output. So drain of PMOS is connected to the VDD of that is the supply voltage, whereas the source of the NMOS is connected to the ground. So this is why we call this circuit as, I hope you can see these are the different types of symbols used in different textbooks. We are now going to follow only this symbol and this symbol, right? So when I'm trying to combine PMOS and NMOS, that is P channel and N channel, we are going to call that family or that circuit as an inverter. So I hope you can understand. See, two gates are connected and I have given an input. Here the source of PMOS is connected to the drain of NMOS, which gives us the output. So this is an interconnection. So drain of PMOS is given a voltage of VDD, whereas here source is connected to the ground. So it is simply resembling this operation, inverter operation, that is I'm giving an input, I'm getting an output. If I'm giving A, the output becomes A bar. So what is the condition according to the transistors? When I'm giving a lower input, this is with respect to the explanation I gave you earlier. So when is it open, when is it short? So depending upon that, the transistor Q1 is switched off and Q2 is switched on, which is giving us the higher value of output. Whereas when I'm giving a high value of input, Q1 is switched on, Q2 is switched off, which gives us the lowest value of output. So this is the easiest symbol that we are following throughout the VLSI technology. So let's say the input given is A, the output that we are going to take is B. So what is the operation? B is equal to A bar. Hope you can see the bubble. This is PMOS and this is NMOS. So that is why CMOS is always called as an inverter. Coming to the most interesting part of CMOS, how do we design a NAND gate, NOR gate, AND gate, OR gate using CMOS? This is quite interesting. We have already seen CMOS is an inverter. So what is how can we design a NAND gate? What is NAND gate? If I'm having two inputs A and B, the output is going to be A plus A dot B bar, isn't it? So we need two inverters. Listen here. We are having the first input connected to one inverter circuit which has two transistors Q1 and Q2. Okay, so the next one is B. B is connected like this. Hope you can understand from the diagram. So this Q4 is interconnected with this drain voltage. So what happens here when I'm having PMOS connected like this, connected in this fashion, we are getting a NAND output. What is the output? So this will give us A bar and this will give us B bar. So what happens? A bar you can understand from the truth table as explained earlier. So the two inputs, that is 0, 0, 0, 1, 1, 0 and 1, 1, the corresponding transistors operation and the output. So this is proving the NAND gate operation. So similarly, moving on to NOR gate. Now NOR gate. just have a hint, in NOR gate we need addition, that is A plus B the whole bar, isn't it? So for that you increase the number of transistors in series like this in NMOS. So this is how we are achieving the connection for NOR gate. So the truth table is explained here simply. Non-inverting buffer. What is meant by non-inverting buffer? Already CMOS is a inverter. So I need A again. Non-inverting in the sense there is no inverter operation. So this will produce A bar. Once again connecting it to another inverter circuit will produce the same output back, that is my A. A will be the output, which means the non-inverting buffer. Right. So the next one is AND gate. What is AND gate? AND is the inverse of complementary or complement of NAND. So how can we achieve that? Already we have constructed a NAND gate. So if we use the same NAND gate along with an inverter, we will get the AND gate. Okay, so that is what we have used here. The similar thing is for OR gate, complementary of NOR. So what do? Already we have constructed a NOR gate, a complementary, that is an inverter circuit is added in order to get the output for OR gate. So these are all very interesting when you are reading VLSI. Right. So the final summary comes in these points: logic, voltage levels, DC margin, fan in, fan out, speed, power consumption, and which are supposed to be the characteristics of CMOS. So coming to the logic levels, so the lowest, the transistor characteristic of CMOS inverter says the lowest input level that is possible is lesser than 2.4 volts and the highest input level that is possible is greater than 2.6 volts. So the transfer characteristics basically depends on so many factors, that is power supply, voltage, temperature and output loading. Probably you can look at the graph. This is the characteristic between the input voltage and the output voltage. So higher value of voltage and it takes a slope like this and it reaches the lowest value of input voltage. Right. So the next one is logic levels. It should use more conservative specifications for low and high. So from this we can understand have threshold values below when it goes we cannot record, all those can be recorded only as noise. Similarly, if it goes above a threshold voltage level also it is recorded as a voice noise. So the margins for noise are defined in this diagram. That is, this is actually the high state DC noise margin and this is the low state DC noise margin, and if it comes under these two threshold limits it becomes abnormal. So the DC noise margin is a measure of how much noise it takes to corrupt a worst case output voltage into a value that may not be recognized properly by an input. Which means if the voltage levels are taken wrong, so there are many possibilities of recording a bit 0 as 1 or 1 as 0. So the lowest noise margin level is VIL max minus VOL max, which is equal to 1.25 volts, and noise margin high is 1.25 volts. Hope you can understand from this diagram. So this is logic 0 and logic 1. The noise margins up to this it is allowed. If it goes lesser than this or if it goes higher than this, it becomes a invalid data. So coming to fan in, the number of inputs that a gate can have in a particular logic family is called as the logic family's fan in. We cannot simply just like that add the number of gates. If you are adding the number of gates, it might end up in dissipation or it might end up in a lower performance. So there are ways to limit the fan in. So you could design a CMOS NAND or NOR gates with a very large number of inputs. It is also possible, but we have to choose an optimized way. In practice, normally an additive on resistance of series transistors limits the fan-in of CMOS gates and its CMOS gates and lowers the speed. So maximum fan-in that we are using for an OR gate is 4 and for a NAND gate is 6. Yes. So the next characteristic is fan out. Fan out of the gate is the number of inputs that the gate can drive without exceeding its worst case loading specifications. The characteristics of the gate's output decides the fan out, as well as the characteristics of the inputs that is driving also decides the fan out. So in fan out we have two different classifications, DC fan out and AC fan out. Whereas DC fan out is the number of inputs that an output can drive with the output in a constant state, that is high or low. Whereas AC fan out is the ability of an output to charge or discharge the stray capacitance associated with the inputs that it drives. That is, what is stray capacitance? If the capacitance is too large, the transition from low to high or vice versa may be too slow, causing an improper system operation. The last one is, another important characteristic is AC loading. AC loading has become a critical design factor as industry has moved to pure CMOS systems. CMOS inputs have very high impedance. DC loading is frequently negligible with low fanouts. CMOS inputs and related packaging and wiring have significant capacitances. Time to charge and discharge capacitance is a major component of delay. Gate speed and power consumption depends on this AC characteristics of the gate and its load. Yes, the next one is transition time. The amount of time that the output of a logic circuit takes to change from one state to another state is called as the transition time. From the graph or from the diagram, you can understand if this is your high and low, if this is your logical input. Look at how the capacitor charges and discharges, and this is your rise time and this is your fall time. That is, moving from low to high is rise time, high to low is fall time. So this is actually the transition time for a CMOS logic family. Then, so the rise and fall times of a CMOS output depends mainly on the transistor resistance and capacitive load. Capacitive load is equal to stray capacitance, which is equal to AC load. So the output circuits, that is the gate output transistors, internal wiring, packaging, the wiring that connects an output to other inputs, and in input circuits, all the wiring and packaging, everything in each and every thing in the fabrication contributes to the capacitance, capacitive load, stray capacitance or AC loading in the logic family. Last one is the propagation delay. So propagation delay is the amount of time that it takes for a change in the input signal to produce a change in the output signal. So high to low propagation time is represented as PHL, and low to high propagation time is expressed as PLH, and the propagation delay is calculated as TPD max of TPHL, TPLH. TPD determines the gate speed. So this is actually the delay in the transmission in CMOS logic family. Power consumption. So power consumption is actually, I told you already, this is actually the major advantage of CMOS logic family. So there are two different types of power consumptions. One is static and the other one is dynamic. Static power consumption, when the circuit's output is not changing. Very low static power consumption for CMOS circuits, attractive for low power applications, power consumption due to the leakage currents. Dynamic power consumption is when the circuit's output is in transition. That is, it can be expressed using this formula where the parameters are specified here. Yes. So CMOS logic family, it comes out with the 4000 series. It is the first commercially successful CMOS family. Fairly slow and not easy to interface with TTL. So these are the device part numbers 74FA MNN or 54FA MNN. high speed CMOS, high speed, now we are getting CMOS which are compatible with TTL also with very high speed. Yes, so CMOS TTL interface, when it is interfaced, the DC margin of a CMOS output drives TTL inputs, that is okay. So fan out, TTL outputs driving CMOS inputs is okay, and then capacitive loading is increasing delay and power consumption. All CMOS families have similar dynamic power consumption, and TTL outputs have lower dynamic power consumption. Thank you.